Hey Thinksters, welcome to this video. Today it will be a bit longer and more interesting maybe. So what do we want to do today? We want to write a little script which can detect invalid emails, let's say. So disposable email provider domains we have here. This is a GitHub file. You will find it on GitHub here. That's the link. And some people use such email addresses from those providers to subscribe to something they want to get from the internet for free and not to give their real email address. Okay, that's something you can do. And we want to build a checker which checks if a given email address is from one of these disposable email address providers. So our input will be a file of email addresses and the output will also be a file, and this output file should only contain email addresses from those providers listed in this file on GitHub. So first of all, we have to get the file from GitHub, and I already have the script ready here, so we can go through it together. No credentials here, so don't worry. Here we have some static or some constant values. That's why we write them, the variable names, with capital letters only. So that's the URL we saw before. Here's our file that we want to get. And I will show you the method that I implemented to get the file. So it's this method here. My script gets the file from the GitHub repository and stores it locally so that we can also use the script if we don't have internet, and if we don't want to refresh the file each time we call the script, we can just skip this part and use our local copy of the file. That's also an advantage for the speed. So we use the requests library here and requests.get. Then we pass the URL to it, and we want to get the content. So with this part of the code, we get the HTML code from the website. Then we use BeautifulSoup to parse the HTML file. So it's an HTML parser. You also have to import it here. You see BeautifulSoup. And we tell BeautifulSoup to find all table entries, and I checked the HTML code before. This is the class for this HTML. Here, this is the class tag from which we want to get the values. You have simply to check it in the HTML from the file. Here you can find it, but it's a bit long. I won't go through it now. But that's how you can find it out. So we need this table data, and with this class, then we get our entries for those email providers. And all those entries contain a line, should need to have a line break, so that we can store them in a file where every domain name is in one line. So we want to put them all in a separate line. So we add a line break to all those TDs. So all those entries we get from the table, from the HTML, and then we can simply flush it all to the file. We use the with open pattern You can call it a pattern in Python, always with open. That means we have a try, accept, and close of the file. That's important. If you don't have the with open pattern here, you have to open the file in a try statement. Then you need an accept and a finally statement. And in the finally block, you close the file to make sure that it's always closed. If you write with open, that's all included, so that's much shorter. The file will be handled correctly, and starting from this line, it will be closed. So you don't forget anything. Yeah, that's why you should always use the with open pattern. Here we have the file path. We open the file in write mode. Yeah, and we call it file here. That will be a local variable only in the scope of the with statement here. Yeah, so that's this refresh domain file method. And we only want to call it if the user gives us a certain flag. Yeah, only if this refresh flag is set to true, we want to load the file again from the GitHub repository. So the first time you run the script, you have to call it to get the file once, and then we can set the flag to false all the time. Okay, and here in this method, we load the file again. So normally we will only execute this part of the method because we don't want to reload the file over and over again. So just read it from your local file system. Here, that's why we have the read mode. Read lines, get all the lines in this and store them in the domains variable. So we have a list of lines now. And we have to remove some trailing blanks. Yeah, and clean it all up so that we get just those email providers from the file. Yeah. Okay, and then in this method, that's the main method. Here we do the checks. So we get all the domains as list. We convert it to a set because we will need to check membership here in this line. So check if the domain of each email address from our input file is contained in the list of disposable domains. So we need to check membership, and that's why we use a set here, because it will be faster than checking membership in a list all the time. Because a list is, for checking membership in a list, you need linear runtime, because you have to start from the beginning and iterate over the list. And in a set, you store the values in a tree in a more intelligent way, let's say, and that reduces the search time a lot. So here, for all the membership checks, we speed up the code by using a set. Okay, this is also a very interesting line, actually. You should try it out once for yourself. We use the with open pattern again, but we want to use two files now simultaneously inside this block. We have two open files. First, we open the input file in read mode and the output file in write mode. So the input and the output file are both open inside this block. And we can write it like this: with open file 1 as in file, comma, open, and that's the second file as out file. So that's really cool. We don't need all the try, except, finally. Everything is handled by the with statement. Okay, and then we go over all the email addresses in the in file. We split them at the @ symbol, because after the @ comes the domain, yes, and that's what we want to check. So that's the suffix, and the prefix, we throw it away, we don't need it. Maybe somebody entered a wrong address, which isn't even an email address. Then this would break. If the @ symbol is not inside the string, this would break. So we need a try except, and yeah, we just tell the user this is not an email address which was given there, this string, and then we continue. But in most of the cases, we expect to get the domain in suffix, and then we check the membership with the set. And if the domain given in the email address is contained in the set of disposable domains, so it's like a dummy email address, we write it to this out file and we count it, and finally we return the count. And as we leave the with block, the files are both closed, so we are done. And now the main code, if you run this file, this script from the command line, for example, it will start this part. Yeah, so we have the main, we run this file as main file, you could say. Why do we do that? Because we could also use the file for an import, for example. So maybe we have a larger program and we want to import this file and just use the methods separately without combining them as we do it here. Then we don't want to run this part of the code. That's why we put the if name equals main here, which means we only want to run this code if we run this file, this script file, as main file. If we start our Python program execution from this file. So first we print a little message that the user knows that the script is running. Then we use the ArgParse. That's also a very interesting module here that you can import. ArgParse, import ArgParse. And you should really use it for your scripts, I think, because it's very easy to define parameters and the help and everything. See here, that's the new ArgParse, and we add a description, and then we add all the arguments. And here we can say it's optional. Here we say if -r, this flag is given, then we want to store true here. And that's the help text we define. And then we say parse args, and it's ready to go. So when we use the program now, we can check, was this I, which is the input file, was it given? If not, we use the default input. And the same with the output file and our flag. So if it was not given, this will be false. And then we don't reload the file from the Git repository. And here you see also my default values. Emails.txt will be the input and filtered emails.txt will be the output file. And then some log entries too. So that's the script, and now we can run it. First, I want to show you that I really have only the input file and the script file. So I'm in this folder right now. You see it's just the two files and another folder. And now I will run filter mails.python. We don't need any input or output file. It will be just the default values. The only thing we need is our -r to load the disposable domains file from the GitHub repository. And of course, I forgot something. We should execute that with Python. And now you see, we got a new file here disposable domains, which contains all those entries from the GitHub file. This was our input file. We have 5 email addresses there. And our script says that 3 email addresses were copied to the output file, filtered emails. And you see these 3 email addresses are from a disposable email provider. So these are dummy emails. Now I want to show you some more usages of the script. For example, since we use the ArgParse, we can write -h. This was not defined actually here. We only defined -i, -o, and -r. But we can also use -h, and you see it will print all the explanations that we added here. The help text will be printed. So that's very nice because it's just included. You don't have to write all that code. It's just included for the user. And now we can also run Python. We run the script again without -r, which means we will use the local copy now. We have a local copy of the disposable email provider's file, and it will be much faster now. You see, we are not reloading it. Yeah, so I hope you learned something from this video. Maybe you also want to try out and implement this script like that.